Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. So why would I say that I'm not a socialist? And why would I say that I'm not quite a capitalist? Well, I believe in a moral economy, not an economy based on what the people think, because the people are very impressionable. For example, whether or not a child gets raped should not be up to the popular vote or up to the government. It should not be raped, period. That's the difference between a moral economy and a social economy or a capitalist economy. In a capitalist economy, it's up to the people with the money to make the call. So I think that the policy should be based on what is logically moral. Here's another example. When we're talking about wealth taxes, is it moral for rich people to hoard tons of money? For the top 50% to have 167 or 170 trillion dollars, while the bottom 50% has 1 to 4 trillion or so? No, that is not moral. Now, what do we do about it? Do we just give a bunch of people money when there's a lot of people smoking lots of cigarettes, lots of substance abuse, when they don't know how to spend it effectively, instead of making sure we buy things on a wholesale basis and then distributing it and making sure that it's healthy? For example, building lots of affordable housing to save them lots of money so that it benefits them financially far more than it otherwise would. If we just give them the money, then they'll just spend the money in a foolish way. And when we talk about influence, right, who's influencing people? Are they being influenced by a moral force? No. So if you want an effective country, if you want a very competitive country, they need to think effectively, and the best way to do that is to have a moral drive. The governing class might say things like, well, leave it to us. Well, let's look at the last 40 years. Since 1984, this country has been governed very poorly. In fact, this country has been governed very poorly the whole time. So what happens if you just leave it to them? Disaster happens. 50,000 people commit suicide every year these days. 100,000 drug overdoses. Over 2 million preventable deaths, including 500,000 people who die every year from cigarette smoking. Now, why hasn't the government moved in a more effective way in regards to convincing people to not start smoking cigarettes in the first place? Why smoke cigarettes? It's not marijuana. What do you get out of it? Why start it in the first place? Because it's cool, so to speak? Or why didn't they come up with something else that's more cool that doesn't kill 500,000 Americans every year? The government has historically been criminally negligent, and not just on this topic. The problem is you have a capitalist economy and not a moral economy. Now, a communist economy is not a moral economy as well, because they haven't pinpointed what wealth distribution should be to the best of their ability. So when we think about what we should do, we should come out with a preliminary plan. That's my 7-point plan, my affordable housing plan, region argument, oversight plan, farm redistribution plan, right? They waste a lot of food on the farm level that's edible instead of giving it to people who are hungry, while 1 in 5 children in America live in poverty, okay? So we start off with a preliminary plan and we discuss things and try to pinpoint it to the best of our ability. That's what happens in a moral economy. In a communist system, they just follow a communist model and everything goes to hell. In a capitalist system, a bunch of rich people come up with some sadistic, hoarder-based lunacy and everything goes to hell. And there's a bunch of rich people who are far too stupid to realize that it's a bad idea to get together to solve the problems. And that's what we're seeing now. That's why there's so many people turning to Bernie Sanders and these recent candidates who have won victories on the left, because they're not happy with the psychotic system that we have here. It is psychotic for Americans to commit to the existing system. If you think that it is acceptable for 50,000 people to commit suicide every year because the system's insane, then you're insane. You think it doesn't matter that 1.5 to 1.7 million people attempt suicide every year? Then you're insane. If you think that 2 million plus preventable deaths every year is okay, then you are insane. You are a mass murderer if you think it's okay. You're in the spirit of mass murder, and you're insane. So is the American spirit the spirit of eugenics? Is it the spirit of mass murder? Is it the spirit of white supremacy, Jewish supremacy, LGBT supremacy? Or are we supposed to have freedom and justice for all? Not freedom within the boundaries of lunatics, but freedom within the boundary of morality. Freedom within the boundaries of morality. Not the boundaries of oligarchy. That's called slavery.